Celebrity Book Club.
Hey, my best friend and fellow club kid.
Is that me?
Yeah, that's you. Because
Okay,
I know that you listen to the pod, but you also make it.
No, I'm a club kid. And, you know what I've been loving? The VIP lounges that happen at the end of the episode that we record.
I love so much those lounges that we record at the very end of the episode. I think they're so fun, but part of me almost wishes that they were on a different day randomly.
I know, because it's kind of like after Christmas, you get depressed because you're like, well, I got all my presents.
Yes, and you get so jealous of your Jewish friends because they get to open presents every day of the week.
Well, it makes me angry.
Well, now Celebrity Book Club is becoming a Jewish holiday. And
it's the Hanukkah podcast.
And you will now be getting a VIP lounge on a separate day of the week.
And what freaking day is that? I'm talking Friday! TGIF, bitches. You're going to be getting the VIP lounge every Friday. That's right. So it's basically 2 episodes now a week.
Now you're getting 2 episodes a week or to wake up on Friday and be like, fuck yes, I got like a no-holds-barred, like wacky CBC episode.
How am I going to get through this Friday commute? I just want to get to my girlies and start pouring the Malbec.
Hell yes.
Happy Malbec month.
It's Malbec Awareness Month.
And yeah, so it's still going to be us.
Yeah, it's still going to be us. But
but sometimes it'll be insane guests.
Like this Friday on our very first separate VIP lounge, we will have none other than HBO's John Wilson.
That's right. This guy has a freaking HBO show, huh?
Yeah, sorry. You impressed by us?
Oh, you're impressed? Yeah, I know guys at HBO.
Yeah, I know a lot of people at HBO. I know Mr. HBO.
Yeah, okay. I clean Mr. HBO's desk.
Clarence HBO. Yeah, you did a nice dusting job.
Really dusting job. So, yeah, it's just a wicked fun kind of pivot we're doing right now.
We're doing a super fun pivot, so don't get scared at the end of the episode when it ends and you subscribe and you're like, where's my VIP?
My VIP lounge? Mommy, my favorite podcast doesn't have
you subscribe, get in the Slack, come talk to us. We'll be there. We'll be chit-chatting with you. We can gussy up the episode. We can chop it up, be weird about it.
Yeah, mix it up, DJ stuff.
And then Friday, you'll get a whole new app.
So stick with us during this
changing And if you're not a
times.
subscriber, like, really get in the mix because you're going to want to hear that John Wilson episode. Shit goes down.
The gossip that has been happening on the last few VIP lounges has
crazy.
been insane, and people are just texting us being like, what names are you talking about? Like, what the fuck?
And if you text us, we will tell you the names that get bleeped out.
So that's, here, if you get in the Slack.
Yeah, you'll know what's going down. And again, it's just kind of like, it's $5 a month.
It's $5 a month.
All the episodes, like, I mean, we're talking all the restaurant shit with Young Me, all the celebrity plastic
Gossip
surgery
with
shit
Cole.
from Cole Escola, all that, you'll get access to all those episodes
We're talking
immediately.
about all the Nantucket waitress drama from you.
That was really good drama. And the podcast conference drama from you.
So, $5 a month.
Subscribe.
Patreon.com/CBC
the pod.
Who's that knocking at the door? It's all your friends, you filthy whore. Your husband's gone and we've got books and a bottle of wine to kill. It's Hollywood. It's books. It's gossip. I'm shook. It's memoirs. It's martinis. It's Studio 54. It's Celebrity Book Club. Come read it while it's hot. Celebrity Book Club. Tell your secrets, we won't talk. Celebrity Book Club. No boys are allowed. Celebrity Book Club. Say it loud and proud. Celebrity Book Club.
Buzz me in, I brought the Cuervo.
Hey, best friend. How the hell are you, fucker?
How are you, motherfucker?
You look really awesome in your brand new haircut.
Yep, here we are again, podcasting, and I just got a haircut, and yeah, we're going to talk about it.
Your haircuts are such a running plot line on this show.
In improv, that's what we call a callback.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of a running theme. I went to my non-binary femme haircuttress, and
they gave you a they cut.
Yeah, like,
we'll say that.
I've been rocking kind of a more Morgan Wallen, not full mullet, but just like a little more like biker, is a little bit longer, shaggier 90s Cobain. And the cut they gave me is like a little more like rockabilly, or just like straight up like lesbian extra in the L word, which we'll get into because of the book today. But it's cool because now I can kind of go back to my rockabilly roots.
Yeah. I mean, you weren't not rockabilly before, but Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, you used to have a pompadour for many, many years, and it stayed in place with a combination of Aquanet, elbow grease, and a little bit of prayer. And
Pure will, okay? No more about my hair because we read a book by one of our favorite actresses of all time.
of course, we're talking about Pam Grier and her memoir,
Foxy.
My Life in 3 Acts.
Now, Pam Grier...
Many of you know her from The L Word, of course, where she plays Jennifer Beals'
half-sister.
Kit Porter.
Kit Porter, soul singer who has fallen on a little bit of hard times because of her hard drinking ways.
And then she, of course, opens up a coffee shop / performance venue / meeting space called The Planet, which becomes a real locus for the characters in The L Word.
Okay, what's in my mind, I'm just like, yeah, Kit started The Planet. I fully forgot Marina started The Planet. Kit buys The Planet from the Count,
Wow.
Marina's husband.
Wait,
the Marina erasure.
Wait, we are being insane Marina racists right now. Yes. Marina, character played by Karina Lombard, of course. Yes, of course, is the original owner of The Planet in season 1. Like, that's what it's all about. And Kit actually is not such a big character in season 1. She's kind of like, she's a little bit there, but she's mostly there to be, as Pam Grier describes her in this book, Bet's shattered rock.
I know, that was such a beautiful
So
phrasing.
true.
And she also
she
says...
is Bet's rock, but she's shattered.
Shattered at the same time. And she says, look, she said, I didn't have as many lines as the rest of them, but I didn't mind because they would give me like full episodes.
Well, of course, and she was already really sort of versed in the idea that there are, to quote Konstantin Stanislavski, there are no small roles, only small actors. So it's really about like taking those few lines and really running with them. And she obviously did that on The L Word and in every role that she's taken on, including
Foxy Brown. Yeah, Pam Grier, queen of the blaxploitation genre. Foxy Brown, Coffee, and then of course Jackie Brown, Tarantino's ode
to the blaxploitation films of the 70s and this one in the 90s. Okay, I watched Jackie Brown recently. That movie is so good.
I did a medley last night.
Last night?
Yeah, well, actually, no. So I was doing just like L Word rewatches throughout the week, and that's why I was like, oh, right, hello.
Okay, Stanislavski over here.
No, an actor
method actor.
So I was like, let's do just an early L Word up. And then last night I did an hour of Coffee and an hour and a half of Jackie Brown, and then I got sleepy.
Okay, wow. You were like multiple movie hopping.
Yeah, I was movie hopping. I was like...
I don't think the directors would appreciate that, to know that you weren't giving the film the full respect it deserved.
I'm going to finish both. And I've seen Foxy Brown in theaters.
Theaters in 1974.
I was dating this guy at the time, my old man. He picked me up. I said, yeah, sure, you got a car. Let's go.
Movies were a dime. Popcorn was a nickel.
And he still couldn't pay for it all. So I said, screw you. And I hopped in another guy's gold Cadillac. Leather and fur seats, fur wheels.
There's so much fur in this book.
But then she's anti-fur at some point.
Well, she becomes extremely PETA.
Yeah.
But she's not a vegetarian, which I think is chill of her.
Yeah, she is very health.
Yeah, she is very health. Well, of course, after her cancer scare
Chinese
that she did
herbals.
And she like really moves to Colorado full time, where she is, of course, from.
That, wow. I mean, the fact that we both didn't know she was literally from Denver.
Yeah, that she's a Denver chica.
I'm still trying to come to terms with it. And so did some of the men she dated.
Oh, hello. I mean, when she meets John Lennon and he's like, oh, they're black cowboys in Colorado. And she's like, yeah, there are, sweetheart. And he's like, I want to go there.
Take me to Colorado. I want to ride with you.
And then he like gets so wasted at this club where like the Smothers Brothers are, but like no one cares that the Smothers Brothers are performing because John Lennon is there and he's at this booth with Pam Grier and they're like singing along and being crazy, and then they get thrown out of this club. And then of course, so celebrity, he sends her a note and like flowers that's like from the desk of John Lennon, like typed up on typewriter.
Hello, dearest Pam Grier, so sorry I embarrassed you.
Sorry I embarrassed you to smits and giggles.
And then she gave him like advice about Yoko, and he was like wasted.
Wait,
they were being so
scene was
party
actually
best
beautiful.
Friends.
No, they were so party best friends immediately. She is so party best friend because like she just met John Lennon and she's immediately being like, what you and Yoko had, like that was so special. I have the scene with John Lennon. Okay, so at this club, no one cares about the Smothers Brothers.
Same here. I don't listen to the Smothers Brothers.
As John continued to knock back drinks, his eyes got a little glassy, his words got slurry, and he began to discuss his separation from Yoko Ono. How do you feel about her now? I asked. I really miss her, he said. I bet you do, I said. There's this woman now, and I spend a lot of time traveling, he said wistfully. But what do you really want? I asked him. You were so involved with Yoko, and the two of you built something special together. Are you ready to throw it all away? People trade in their mates like cars. I'd love to have what you have with Yoko, but I don't. You will, he said. and then she goes, maybe and maybe not, I answered. I don't know. I think I have to learn a lot more about people. I feel like I'm on the outside watching. And then he goes, I have to think about what you just said. It's kind of beautiful.
Wow. At that
point...
this
is actually Insane Spirit. Sorry, not to bring it back to me. But this weekend I was at the movie theater seeing a film with a lover. And we were...
Movie theaters.
sort of being like, affectionate on the escalator. And this guy behind us, British guy, behind the mask, he was just like, can I just say, like, what you have is beautiful?
Okay,
this actually happened. And then he was just like, and my lover died in 2006. And
what?
And I'm just jealous of what you guys have. And I always see that. And then not in a weird way. I have 3 daughters and we go to the theaters now and it's lovely. But what you have is really lovely.
We see pictures. Wait, so it was like this grieving husband?
But I was like, 06, girl, get back on the saddle.
Yeah.
It's been 15 years.
Well, how old was he?
He was like, I don't know, 52, attractive man. I was very just like, you can really, you'll be fine.
Oh, it's hard out there.
I know, and I should have had the full Yoko convo with him, but I didn't.
Yeah, you should have been like, listen, baby, you're sexy as all hell. You know that? Silver hair. I don't kiss and tell, but I can tell you're huge.
Okay. Wait.
So let's talk about some of her relationships. So she grows up, she's an army brat. Like, obviously very segregated at the time and very racist. Army, I mean, I'm sure it still is very much today.
Fort Dix.
But it's like, whatever, they were like, still had to like stay with her grandmother, like in the fort in Denver, and then like went to England and went back. But like, she had this full like Western childhood where she was always like baling hay and like riding horses.
Because the grandparents lived in Wyoming and they were always going, okay, the corn on the cobs used as toilet paper.
I was like,
girl.
Damn. But it was corn husks. Because I first read that as cob.
I read it as
you're wiping your ass with a cob?
Wait, that makes so much more sense because I read it as eaten cob.
Right, that you're getting all this corn
and I was like,
up in your ass.
That is exfoliating. Also, corn in the ass, cut out the middleman, am I right?
Hello. Steven, stop with the bathroom humor. Right, but husks, which you take off if one is to...
I know this bitch said cob, and it's just like, why did she say cob?
She did say cob, because I'm only saying this now because you saying that aloud, I'm like, it can't be true. You don't wipe your ass with a cob.
I mean, I guess the only thing I could think about it is that the shape of it is kind of like...
Dildo?
Well, not that you would put it... Oh, actually... You put it all the way up and comes back out. That's
it's like
crazy.
It's like a douche?
No, that's crazy. No, I thought it meant more sliding it back and forth with the crack in all the little crevices of where the kernels were.
More frottage.
Basically, yes, it's ass like frottage with a cob.
Pinching at anal.
Okay, that can't be true. It must be husks.
Yeah, I think it's husks. Anyway, yeah, her childhood was like country, but not
that
in like...
was the grandparents, because she did grow up on post, as we say, in Army Wives.
Right.
Like in Colorado a lot of the time.
Yes. And her grandmother and her were really close until she like revealed to her grandfather that her grandmother like drinks beer. Was an
alkie. And then the grandmother was so mean.
Was so mean to her because then she was like, well, I don't trust you anymore because you're like a narc. And then also it's like every memoir about an actress.
I mean, it was like by page 4, I was like, I know it's coming.
Rape, and it's just
I know
like,
it's coming.
Mama was working full-time as a nurse then. She's like, so I was playing with my cousins, and we love to play sock'em. And you're like,
here it comes.
Here we go. And I'm already...
It's always the same. It's always the bedroom in the middle of the day, and the parents aren't home. And then that electrician came over.
And he, like, pulls the boys off of her, and they're, like, gang raping her.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of the DMX story in reverse a little bit.
Yes.
Although he was not really traumatized. He was like, yeah, that was cool.
So that happens at 6, and then she goes to a party at like 16, and she also, after her 6-year-old rape, develops a stutter, and they call her Shy Pammy.
It's so sad.
And it's so sad.
But then the only thing that makes her not shy is riding a horse.
Which I wanted to bring up because remember how my sister did that program called like Horsepower? Horse therapy is like a real thing.
Yeah, you're already defensive of horse therapy. Didn't say it wasn't real.
I know, I'm not being defensive. I guess I'm just like, it's out there. It's not like, if you are in PSA, if you're in trouble, find your nearest barn. Yeah, horse therapy helps developmental disabilities, trauma, etc.
The way Pam describes it, I mean, she's just like the beauty, the majesty of the animals. Like, this is an animal that wants to be understood.
Yes,
that
they
has
want
such
to
power,
communicate.
Yet is so gentle.
One time she's filming in Italy, and it's like a Roman war movie, and they give her this horse, which reminded me of the scene in my favorite movie, Ante Mame. Ante Mame, and his name is Donatello, and he's a black stallion.
Yeah.
And she's like...
wild and untamed.
And she's like, I can't train this horse in this time. And they're like, you have to. This is the horse. And so she like...
There also like is no horse trainers, and it's just up to Pam, who happens to be a horse girl, to just like really like teach this horse and bond with the horse and like get the horse to respond to her commands.
And then he doesn't respond, and there is one animal handler, and he's like, you aren't speaking Italian to her. Yeah. To Donatello. And then she like starts speaking Italian. She's like, well, Donatello still isn't listening. So finally she's like, me and Donatello bonded, and it becomes the scene time, and she's in just like this tiny little like leopard print
She's in just
halter.
like, the most insane like Princess Leia, like leopard halter, gladiator sandals, like nothing else.
And some handler doesn't, realize...
one of the crew comes up
and he just slaps the back of the horse's
with
ass.
a towel, like doing the like locker room towel slap on the horse's ass. And of course, the horse bucks and runs. There's like another fleet of horses that start running with the
Pam.
horse.
And she told the crew, she was like, this is what will happen. And she's like, well, they got what they wanted, like a black woman with an afro in a leopard halter, speeding with like 10 horses.
Was it just like
and they're like going through like
cavalry.
So many film sets, like other films, and then they end up on Federico Fellini's set, and like finally the horse bucks, and since she's like an insane jiu-jitsu master, she knows how to tuck and roll and falls off.
That was so insane. She flies off this stallion, tucks and rolls, and like wakes up, and there's Fellini standing over her, and he's like, let's do lunch. And then they have quail?
I know. He's like, so we sat for an alfresco lunch with some quail. And he's like, you have to be in my movies.
Oh, no, wait, sorry. No, it's squab.
Squab.
Wait, that was the best part, that it was squab. He wanted to teach her how to make like a Milanese or whatever. And he was like, we don't have any chicken. We must do it with squab.
No. He wanted her to teach her how to make like American fried chicken.
And,
okay.
Like, it was like a cross-cultural cooking class.
He makes her Italian.
Right. He was like, I'm going to teach you red sauce. You teach me fried chicken. And she was like, well, all we have is squab.
So we're doing fried squab. I mean, which is also, again, like so bespoke restaurant now, being so like, we're playing on the Southern fried chicken by doing, we're doing a pop-up fried squab tonight.
And it's called like Peepaw's fried squab.
We're pouring some glue tonight with the fried squab.
It's so 33.
That's so insane Italian. It's like 3 film sets have just been busted through. Fellini's literally directing, and then all of a sudden they're just like, let's take a 3-hour lunch to fry squab.
And that's how a movie should be made.
It's what's different from like the Janice Dickinson 70s kind of film memoir of this. I would say like she's much more, I mean, she literally is like very Buddhist informed.
The Buddhists are everywhere.
Like there are these kind of crazy stories, but she's definitely more introspective and less like tea spilling, even though she is being like, yes, it was big sometimes, There
is this thing when you're reading these books from this time, from like 70s, wherever you're like, I don't know, it does seem like it was a little easy to become famous. Cause like,
jealous?
I'm just saying, it's like you get to LA, and she was like, so one of the jobs I had was like I was a backup singer for Bobby Womack.
Oh, I know. And
it's so, who was that? She was an awesome, cool DJ and record store receptionist.
No,
I was like,
I know.
okay, so she's the coolest chick ever.
I was dying at that. She was like, ugh, so I was working, she was complaining, like, I was working 3 jobs. And then she was like, so I was DJing like funky private parties at that point. She was like, so I was spinning Bobby Womack, Average White Band, Stevie Wonder. Like, and it's
then
like,
she was like singing in Stevie Wonder's backup band, and then people are being like, you should be in movies. And she's just like,
ooh,
what?
Me?
Me, an actress? I've never done that before. But I went into the audition, I read once, and they said, we're flying you to the Philippines.
and she was like, the Philippines. She was like, well, damn, I do love to travel. Like, let's do this.
Celebrity Book Club.
Just a little bit of housekeeping.
What's the housekeeping, Stephen?
We have 2 shows coming up in California. Our LA show is sold out, but there are still tickets left for San Francisco. April 30th on Saturday.
It's a Saturday night in the San Francisco at Cafe
Du
du
Nord.
Nord.
So get those tickets right now before they disappear. And honestly, make a night of it. I mean, we're going up to San Francisco for the weekend. Maybe you can go up too if you're in LA and you're like, oh, fuck, I didn't get tickets. I
Yeah,
didn't get them in
follow
time.
us, man, like the Grateful Dead.
Yeah. Okay, so she starts dating this basketball player in LA who she's called Lou. And then there's this, and then she's talking about him, and then there's this reveal. She was
Where
like,
she's like, he's 7 feet tall.
and then she was like, she was like, it was around this time he asked me to start calling him Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
And you're like, okay, here we go.
Okay, so first of all, about dick size. She goes, well, first of all, she's talking about him. She's like, now let me tell you what it's like to have a sexual relationship with an athlete. Their bodies are amazingly strong. Their body temperatures are hotter than the average man's. And their scent is refreshingly clean from working out. While most men take a shower in the morning and maybe another before a day in the evening, maybe not, in parentheses, an athlete takes many showers during the day. Or just feeling athletes run hotter and shower more frequently.
I died at this.
It's actually very Rosa Blasi like.
No,
advice.
just be like, here's the deal with athletes. Like, I mean, that does make sense because, like, man, your normal man just waking up, taking this morning shower when it's like, but you're dirtier throughout the day.
And you have so much scent, but then he's wearing a lot of patchouli because he cares about his appearance inside and out. So then she goes, we had a romantic sex life. There are things people want to know, but I've never been one to kiss and tell. Let's just say that whatever you're imagining, he measures well beyond that. So he's absolutely, I mean, he's 7
If he's
foot
7
two.
feet tall, what do you think his dick is?
Of course. And then she's just
then
like, whatever you're thinking, it's
bigger.
bigger.
Bigger than the 7 feet
This
tall
thing is
man.
a log on another log.
It must be like
Logged
What do
all
you
the
think?
way up.
12
Yeah.
inches.
I think it's 12, and I think it's thick. It probably I mean, when a dick is that long, there has to be a curve. You know, it's not just going to say straight.
Well,
straight,
and it
straight.
explains why she stays with him for so long when she
Oh, no.
knows
The
she
whole
won't
thing,
marry him.
because
It's
so-
like you are
okay.
dickmatized. So he converts to Islam. And
There's a good 20 pages where she just is dragging Islam, and she's just being like,
no.
no.
She's
No.
like, so let me get this straight. I'm supposed to walk behind you. I can't hang out in the same room as you.
When your boys are over.
Yeah,
But I
and-
still have to come bring you food and then leave.
So, his boys are over, and she, brings them all sandwiches, and he's like, okay, go to your room. And she's like, bitch.
He's like, and how long am I supposed to sit in the room?
And he's like, whatever I decide.
And she's like, I'm going for a drive. Because it's so 70s, you're just like, it's time to drive.
You can't do that anymore. Gas prices. Am I right?
Hello. Thank you, Putin.
I'd be better off skiing.
Which Pam Grier does too.
She again, Colorado stuff.
Yeah.
And another people, when she shattered stereotypes, and people were like, a black person skiing?
A black woman ski. I mean, still to this day.
Yeah. And they're
Go
like,
to
a
Sugar
black
Bush?
person camping?
Yeah.
And she was like, yes, I camp. Yes, I ski. Yes, I do martial arts. Yes, I ride horses. Mic drop.
Yeah, literal mic drop.
But what I won't do?
Islam.
Islam. So she takes this drive, and then one of his boys tells on her, and he's like, I saw your girl wearing a crop top at the beach.
Talking to other men.
Yeah.
And he's like, you actually have to be fully covered. And she's like, wait, at the beach? I can't. Because
No.
this was before like Nike had invented like the burkini or whatever. So it's like, she didn't have that option.
Well, and she even was like, well, I heard there's like really progressive like Muslim women in Jordan, but like he like wasn't reading that far. He was like just getting in to his studies.
Right. He hadn't like gotten to the chapter on like progressive Muslims. Well, this is insane because he gives her basically like all these like how to convert to Islam for dummies books. And
Right.
he's always being like,
Do you have your book?
do you have your book? And she's like in the Philippines like shooting all these blaxploitation films. And he's like, did you read the book?
Yeah, and it's like,
Did you finish like
Did you-
How to Be Muslim for Dummies? And she's like, girl, I'm shooting a movie.
Yeah, like, sorry,
I'll get to it. I'm thinking about it.
Right, I'm filming a famous Roger Corman film, famous B movie director of the 70s. And then it all, so it's like, and she knows and he keeps on being like, I need to know so I can marry you. And
Wait, when he's trying to convince her at that one point, he's like, girl, it'll be fun. Like, we'll go to Mecca together. And he's like, we can be like moderate boots in Mecca and you can have like other wife friends.
no, this is, he keeps on going, no, here's the thing. You can say yes or no of my other wives that I pick. He was like, you get final call. And she's like, yeah, but there's still going to be other wives. And he's like, yeah, but
like,
again, you get to pick.
Right. He's like, I don't see. He's like, this is a win-win. She's like, I don't know, babe.
Not for me. And then finally, they have like this horrible weekend.
In Wisconsin, because he's then playing for the
Milwaukee
Bucks.
Milwaukee Bucks.
Milwaukee Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Do you remember the part where she describes Milwaukee as
Beautiful.
magnificently
Yes.
beautiful?
She was like, I stepped off the plane in Milwaukee and it was absolutely gorgeous.
The summer thunderstorms were stunning.
I will say this.
Okay, as someone of having been to Wisconsin experience.
Someone who's been to Wisconsin once, not Milwaukee, but the sky there, it really does feel bigger. Like I felt, I was like, and I did see a storm, and it covers you.
Okay, so anyway, she's in Milwaukee, and they get in this big fight during a magnificent rainstorm, and he's still pushing her to convert. And at this point, she'd already had the like paisley scarf thing where she was driving, trying to do a head wrap.
Oh yeah, with like a funky
and
scarf.
And the like scarf like fell down over her eyes, and she like almost crashed, and she was just like, "Am I going to do this?"
Not for me. Yeah.
It's also a little bit just like, well, you could probably like figure out how to tie the scarf.
I think
she was
it
being
was
a little bit like Spirit is present about it.
Yeah, she's very spiritual, and it's just obviously the sex was very good because the whole time she knew she was never going to convert, but she kept on reading the book because an actor prepares and she carries around the book.
Yeah.
An actor prepares with her wherever she goes.
So then here's what the insane part was, though. So then they kind of stopped dating, and then like a couple months later, she gets this phone call from him. It's on her birthday.
By the way, kittens are crawling all over her. She's like, our house cat just had kittens. So kittens are crawling all over me. I'm laughing, having a celebratory drink. She doesn't drink. She's having like one champagne cocktail covered in kittens.
And she was like, I was expecting a phone call from him because sometimes we all expect that phone call on the birthday.
Yeah.
That
That
obligatory
guy.
text, right? And he calls and she's like, oh yeah, it's my birthday. And he goes, so like, do you want to marry me? I kind of need to know now. And she's like, so you're kind of still doing this. And he's like, so here's the thing. I'm actually going to be getting married to a different woman at 2. I was like, 2?
2, so it's early.
And he's like, but I won't if you don't want me to and you want to marry me.
And convert, like today.
And she's just like, this is completely insane. This is like the rudest thing ever. And then like the mom's on the phone. She's like, you should really marry him, but you're not going to. Or you know what? You're not going to do it. And I totally respect that. Then he gets back on the phone and he's like, okay, so if you're not going to marry me, can I have the book back?
It's like, get another book.
I know.
You're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Like, and this was like the How to Convert to Islam for Dummies book.
And this was at the height of his fame, too. It's like, you can find another copy, babe.
That was
The
really
Sisterhood
stunning.
of the Traveling Pants.
No, I know. I was like, don't queer
convert.
exchange the book.
And then what? And it's like, also, it's the 70s. So she's like getting back in her GMC truck, driving to the post office.
Right.
Who knows what was going on at the post office those days?
Oh, my God.
So the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar thing, I would say this.
Anyway, he carried, yeah.
He carried. So, but this like goes for like a long line of just, she's never been married, only like engaged and is always almost there. So she dated famed comedian Freddie Prinze.
Who I did not realize shot himself.
Yeah.
quite sad.
You don't realize you see Freddie Prinze Jr. She's all that. You're
I
like,
didn't realize that he was like the product of such tragedy.
And their dates, Pam and Freddie Prinze's date, sounded like, so you're dating a comedian? Where like she was like, it was so funny. He would always do like British accents and then like pretend we're all like captains on a boat. And I was like, okay, this is my improv class. Like,
yeah, she dates him and Richard Pryor, and they both are like doing a lot of coke. And I'm kind of just like the way that, and like he was like, of course he was a hotshot comedian, so every night was drugs, sex, women, alcohol. And I'm just like, the way this is not comedians today.
No, that's the whole thing, is that like SNL and everything, it all used to be like coke and like everyone was overdosing, and now it's just like
the most D-list UCB
0% beer, 0 proof boots. Like
except for like John Mulaney's like nerdy ass.
Though I guess we got completely blackout at the Catherine Cohen Netflix special party last week.
We did, and shout out to my friend Kat. That was an incredible party. But I feel like that party was very like a bunch of comedians, and we were all like getting so wasted because it was like our first party.
No, it was
like,
very our first. The cast like energy. Cast
it was
party.
like very very cast party. It was not just like a bunch of Richard Pryors who are like doing coke off their coke nail like every night.
So the big like thing that when this book came out that people talked about is Pam Grier, when she's dating Richard Pryor, goes to the gynecologist. He's like, do you do cocaine? She's like, no. And he's like, well, there's cocaine like in your vagina. And and he's like, do you think does Richard Pryor like put coke on his dick before he fucks you?
Yeah, was she doing a hum and coke or something? And then
he was like, well, when he was like, this is going to be a very private question, but when you give him oral sex, do your teeth feel numb? And then she was like, that motherfucker. Though I will say, actually, it's like all of her characters, like Foxy Brown and Coffee, is so just like motherfucker this, motherfucker that, but she's not so motherfucker this, motherfucker that.
You're talking about she's not so crude with her language?
Yeah, like she's not like swearing so much as her.
Yeah, no, it's cool that she doesn't swear too much.
I agree.
I'm
swearing.
No, I think it's awesome that she can still be a role model for young women.
I'm just saying she is very different from her iconic 70s.
Yeah, those were roles.
Characters.
Yeah. I think that she is like very much like Kit Porter in a lot of ways, though. And I think what's interesting about all her roles is like that I really get in this book is that vulnerability and that fragility and like, you know, her like being a horse girl and like having this like very wild, interesting childhood where she like moved to England and moved all around and was an army brat and like was abused, but was also like always in these like really like, you know, multicultural neighborhoods and like learning how to make Polish kielbasa while horseback riding. And it's like
going to the Middle Eastern markets.
And then like being on an ocean line. It's like she had a very, you know, diverse, involved childhood. And it's like, I feel like that maybe contributes to this, like, but there's this real like softness to her.
I would say extreme. That's what I'm saying. She's very sensitive. And she's very introspective.
And I really see that in her Jackie Brown character. I feel like it's there because like that character is very like nervous and serious and like
quiet
and quiet.
Like in the scene. In her like first scene in Jackie Brown, when they're like the police are like questioning her and she's not saying anything, like it's like Coffee, which I watch. It's basically like she plays this woman who's a nurse who's like secretly killing drug dealers because she's out for revenge because her like 12-year-old sister is like a heroin addict. And
she's not being so soft and vulnerable and like
she is being like huge machine gun like motherfucker you're dead, but then like when she's like out of her gun space she is very like quiet nurse being so like, isn't it a shame, like I can't believe like my, you know, sister is addicted to drugs. And she also just had some like.
And she brings the gravitas.
Yes, she's bringing major gravitas. And then her flight attendant, her Jackie Brown character is so like it's not this usual like I'm just trafficking drugs and I'm like hard. She's very like shy.
Yeah.
And that is also with Kit. It's like she also is like sassy and the singer, but is like shy and broken and like. Bet is much more of the like rageaholic, like insane power lesbian, and Kid is always like, you need to like calm down and like think about Tina and like you're being crazy and like
focus
too much of a toxic
family.
Lesbian pimp.
Yeah, and she's right. I mean, even her singing voice has a softness and a fragility to it.
Transformation. Alleviation. I know. I was looking up her songs because for like her earlier movies, someone wanted to record an album and that didn't like pop off.
Yeah, she was like, we did record a couple tracks, but like maybe it wasn't my thing. But I mean, she does not have a powerful voice. No,
it's like it's a little like
a little smoky.
Yeah,
she does have. I will say,
it's a little more of a club singer voice.
She has, if her speaking voice too, has a sort of a soft honey-like quality to it, mixed with a huskiness, like an almost Demi Moore. Like there's a depth there as well that I think all really great actresses have, like a voice that has like. Some,
it's smoky,
timbre
but
to it. Yeah,
shy. And that might go to her Western sensibility, the silent cowboy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That masculinity.
Right. That's, we think of the land. The times that she's always mentioning Colorado well water.
Oh, and how fucking good it is.
Yeah, she's like, thank God I was back to my clean
Colorado
well water. I've never been to Colorado, and I would die to try their water. Sure, it's different these days.
I feel like probably a lot of people don't have well water. You're living in Colorado Springs, you're living in Greater Denver. It's like...
No, with all these new houses and the building, it's a totally different Colorado.
Can I say something about her being a great role model for young women who doesn't swear? So this is on literally the same section that she's talking about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's dick, how it's bigger than you could possibly imagine. She goes... I want to be clear here that I appreciate good sex as much as the next person. But in my opinion, women are not valuing or appreciating sex enough. When girls start having lots of sex at young ages, they wear their vaginas out. Literally. What do you expect if you have intercourse 4 or 5 times a week with different partners starting when you're 15 years old? By the time you grow up and meet a great guy, you're all stretched out. Wow.
And it's like, but this guy had a massive dick.
I feel like it's like, if you're only having sex with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar by the time you're 15, from 15 on, maybe you will be stretched out. But if you have maybe more of a variety of size. Let's say to our readers, I don't know if this is true. I do think that, like, ultimately the body loses elasticity over time, but I don't think that it loses elasticity from use.
No, I know. That was just like such a weird thing for her to say.
Like, I'm sure a 6-year-old vagina is not as tight as a 22-year-old pussy. But same thing with an asshole.
Pilot of the L word.
Right.
When Alice is going in for doing the article on vaginal rejuvenation.
But I think that's just normal time.
Yeah, it's not
to
like, or having
use.
Children, I've heard. I have not bore any.
But then I'm like, I wonder about gay guys who are so ran through, as the phrase is.
You're always saying, being like, oh, I don't want to like get into fisting because like I don't want my asshole to like get huge.
Well, it's not just that I want to get huge. It's that I don't want to, as I've explained in this pod, that I don't want to become so desensitized
less
to more traditional
size.
forms of sex that I just have to get fisted with just like the most insane, just like
do you think Pam,
spiked glove.
I feel like Pam has done anal.
That's
what do
a
you
no
think?
for me, dog.
You think no? Okay. Straight up more just...
I don't know. Like maybe the 70s. She's dating all these men who were like, they probably wanted to try some funky stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like she was like, look, when you're making love with a man...
But she also likes that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar showers like 18 times a day, which makes me think that she's so just like, it's gross to eat a man's booty. And like, I'm not doing that.
Well, especially if you're not wiping with corn cobs. Okay, so I guess let's get to some things about the L word.
Okay.
One, so fabulous, which I didn't know, the role written for her.
Right. So it was not originally the straight sister of Kit. It was a leather butch. That blew my mind.
So the head of Showtime calls her and he's like, you're having dinner with me. And she's just getting like over cancer. And she's like, oh, fuck, I forgot. I'm having dinner with you. And he was like, yeah, here's the thing. You're having dinner with me and you have a role. Like, we're doing a new series about lesbians and women in Los Angeles. And she goes, I would be playing the part of Kit, a straight woman with a tarnished past. They had written her character as a leather butch documentarian whose body was covered in tattoos depicting various love entanglements. When the series was finally picked up, they changed Kit's character to a straight, sexually curious, and non-judgmental recovering alcoholic. So Kit was literally supposed to be a mix between Dylan, Helena's lover.
Right.
Who's
in season 4.
And she's also supposed to be like
this crazy biker butch. Okay, and then
who has the chart tattooed on the back.
But this is the most insane part. It's like a Buddhist tribal version of the chart.
Yeah, so there is like they do it on. Is that her?
They did a full 3-hour temporary tattoo on Pam Grier's back that there's a photo of in the book.
We'll be posting this.
And it's like Kit and then like Deb, Tina, Kathy, Georgia, Shane is a node. But it's like this insane tribal design.
It's also like an owl and like...
And it fully takes up her entire back. This is so insane that Kit was originally this like...
Leather butch documentary filmmaker
with a tribal chart on her entire back.
If our Patreon gets to $20,000,
I'll get that tattoo on my back.
I will get that tattoo on my back.
We both will.
Okay, so
done.
There you have it.
Subscribe.
Also, she truly says the reason she wrote this book is because none other than author Jennifer Schechter.
I was just like, Jenny Schechter, inventor of books. She was like, I got the idea from my friend, fictional character Jenny Schechter, who was always writing books on the L word.
And she's like, oh, and she talks about it's so beautiful, and you can tell, and it's like, come for the L word as much as you want because it's like out of date. But it's like she talks about like how much of like an insane family they were, and you can tell that on screen.
You know, I agree, but I also had this thing reading it. I do feel like when this book came out in 2010, and I think by that time, like probably half the people who even know Pam Grier know her from the L Word because like that show's so popular. And like she knows how popular the show is, and like that was like a big reason probably why she got the book deal and everything. So it's like I do feel like she basically only said really positive things about the show, like somewhat briefly at the end. It was kind of like, I mean, that the character thing was like a huge shocker, but I was like, there wasn't so much. It was very like we're all best friends and we all love each other.
I kind of think it was like that, except for Jenny. I feel like there was some drama with Jenny, and everyone else like got along so much.
There was drama with Mia Kirshner's character because Mia Kirshner's insane.
Yeah, she was like, I just feel like they were being so like lesbian family and being like, I was always checking in on like. No,
Shane's
I know,
and they were all watching each other's dogs when they were away from each other.
And she was like, Laurel Holloman's mom was also a nurse, and just like Alice's mom was a nurse, and like I encouraged like Alice's music career. Of like, her.
Well, wait, her first band was called the Murmurs. And then she started her,
and
which
Murmurs,
is just the name of a PJ Harvey album.
Right. So you think there was like more tea? Well, she does talk. She obviously is like so grateful for her Jackie Brown role, which is really what I think revived her. Because then I feel like the reason why she was picked for the L Word is because she did some random Showtime show called like Lynx.
Yeah.
Which I was like, what?
Which I've never heard of this. That's so Showtime. It's so like R-list. It's like, what's the show that no one's seen? And it's like about, and it's always like about a office. It's like some sort of like sexy office.
Yeah, because Showtime is always getting a little bit sexier, and that's why we love him, you know? And I mean, my fucking question for Eileen Shaken.
Yeah.
Is why did they kill off Kit for Gen Q?
Kit's dead?
Yeah, it's so fucked up because so throughout all of L Word, I'm sure you've seen if you're listening to this show, it's like she's a recovering alcoholic and is like sober for the whole show except for like one relapse. And then Bet basically says like she died off being like addicted to prescription pills because the whole storyline Gen Q is about her like fighting the opioid crisis.
That was so annoying and just cheap of Gen Q. And
so
it was
cheap. I mean, Gen Q is the cheapest show made ever.
It's very Sex and the City being like, and then Stanford went to Japan. Bye.
Bye. And it's like, I don't know if they offered it to Kit and she said, I mean, to Pam and she said no.
Maybe she was just like, honestly, no, I'm in Colorado, I'm riding horses.
Right, with my horses. It's possible. I guess I would just like answers.
I do think that she is. Obviously, she likes dick and she was dicked-pized by Kareem.
I do feel like she like is a little bi.
Is Kit Porter in that way where just like if the right Ivan came along.
Trans mask.
And she would just be like, let's make it work.
Right, just being like, I don't care about the body parts, you know. They're toys as bigger than Kareem, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
No, at the end, thank you for saying, at the end of this book, I was like,
and I was like, it's a lot of you being alone with horses, babe.
No, and she's always like, you know, and it's okay that I never married because I have lovers and I've fallen in love and I've had all these experiences. And she's like, and there's so many children to be loved. I didn't like need my own, and like life is a journey. And she gets very introspective and like isn't like mad that some things didn't happen for her, like marriage and kids. And I'm just like, I feel like the reason maybe like she chose some men that she knew were unavailable. Richard Pryor, Kareem, Freddie Prinze.
Yes.
This guy, this like white guy who's like.
Oh, like Lance or
Lance,
whatever. Who
she gives an out. She's like, am I a fetish for you? And he's like, no. And then 3 years later, he's like, I'm actually not going to invite you on a yacht trip because like.
And he literally was with me. He was like, you're just like not that. He's like, you're not so country club.
I was like, that's a line from Gen Q.
I know. And she was just like, well, I told you that I wasn't so country club in marriage. And he's being like, but you need to be more like Lily Pulitzer marriage boots. And she's like, boots. Yeah, I think that she should be so Demi Moore and just like start dating her like longtime hairstylist.
Right, me with my hair.
You, basically.
And at the end, she was like, ooh, the part. Hold on, I had to get that when she describes what being a switch is.
And she was like, and like some women are dominant like a man, and then they can be turn around and be submissive in their next relationship.
She's like, I learned so much about the lesbian community in my research.
When your verse. Segment motherfucker. What does she wear?
What does she eat?
How does she live? All right, what does she eat? She's a foodie.
She is a total foodie.
Like, she is foodissima. And, like, because the way that she describes food, like, she really has, like, a knowledge and a hankering and a respect.
Because she grew up gardening. So she's like, fresh leeks, fresh parsley.
Our white and black neighbors traded vegetables, freshly caught fish, and venison to help each other out. As a result, we always had fresh lettuce with Italian dressing and ripe, pungent tomatoes that were blood red on the inside. We grew our own onions, scallions, radishes, and carrots. And on the far side of my grandparents' house was a big strawberry patch. In the middle of the patch was a tree that bore golden freestone peaches with little clefts in the sides that turned orange when the peaches were ripe. Beside the peach tree was a prolific black walnut tree and cherry tree full of dark red Bing cherries that weighed the branches down when they were ready for picking. It's like, she knows her food.
Did you see that part where she also was talking about how they always had like venison spaghetti? I feel like they were doing a venison bolognese.
They would catch chicken, wring its neck, and lay it across the stump, chop off its head with a guillotine, and drain the blood. Not the guillotine. I know, what if she's doing that Italian pasta that I always want to have that has yolks that you can only get from like a pregnant chicken. It's like egg yolks that are like taken out of the eggs that are like haven't even been like
formed into chickens? They're
just like haven't even been pre-laid. Yeah.
Not that you would. Oh, of course you would want this like pre-laid. You're like, I want the pre-laid egg carbonara, Mom. Order me the pre-laid egg.
It just has a really unctuous, super rich, super umami flavor.
She is sober.
Right, as we said, she doesn't swear. She thinks that your vagina can get worn out at an early age if you have too much sex, and she's sober.
Which is it. She's like, yeah, your vagina can get worn out, but it's like her vagina gets like so full of coke. That's, I guess, more of a thing that can happen less your vagina getting worn out. Okay, how does she...
Or wait, what does she wear?
So, I mean, she's like stylish, but is also like, I had one pair of go-go boots and like was 70s. And then all of a sudden, at the end, she really bonds with the Elberg costume designer. Yeah. And is like, she turned me on to beautiful designers.
Balenciaga, Escada, Gucci.
Chanel.
So I think she's kind of rich celebrity style in the kind of a Sharon Stone way. I think she's big, crisp, white button down.
And like an awesome like Armani leather jacket or something.
Yeah, because
like
she's
that.
Still doing like Western kind of inspired looks.
Yes, when she's like on the range in Colorado, I think she's wearing like some more like bespoke, probably like Colorado flares and like beaded, kind of more Native American jackets.
Yeah, and she's getting some like Native American inspired
suede
like knitwear around the house, but then absolutely she is going to just like Drask and Flagon like in Denver and getting like a weird $285
Well, she loves to ski, so I think she's getting some like funky...
At the boutique in Aspen. She's picking up a few things.
Yeah, oh yeah. And she's like, it's so good to feel that crisp Aspen air.
Okay, how does she live? Buddha.
Buddha
statues.
Buddha.
I think it's
Farm Sink. I think it is a little bit Pendleton in
yeah.
there. Like, I feel like maybe her and Miranda Lambert, like, their homes are not.
I don't know if it's so like kitschy theme boots.
No, it's not like Tito's and like, but I think there's like gorgeous native blankets, Buddhas. Oh wait, what amazing art does she have like framed from like a producer? I feel like she has something framed that someone gave to her. That's also
cool.
really
She's got one thing framed. But, yeah, no,
but I mean,
yeah, no, it definitely.
It's
I
a little
second
more
that.
just like
Quentin
Quentin won this in an auction. He sent it to me.
Right, Quentin. Who sounds like a total actor's director.
Oh, that was the thing that she was like. She was like,
I always say they love working with him.
I love Quentin, but then she was like, I will say though, I don't think he totally understands where women are come from, because in one scene I cried and he wanted me to redo the scene without me crying.
And it's kind of like, I think that was just maybe him
like getting options.
Because I also feel, it's so funny she said that as we're reading, because I was chatting with a friend of the pod, Arabella, today, and we were talking about Jackie Brown and how much she likes it. And she was just like, Tarantino just gets women. And she said that totally unprovoked.
That's such an Arabella thing to say. I know you're listening out there.
And I was like,
straight girl stuff. To just be like, if there's one person who gets women,
it's Quentin Tarantino. Who are you in the book? Okay, am I her when she's in the Philippines shooting one of those movies, and there's like a friend that she's like, and I made friends with this really awesome local guy who like showed me where to like buy wares from the local women.
Okay, I thought,
and I just got a gay vibe.
Yeah, that.
Or my Alan Cumming.
Yeah, you're Alan Cumming.
Who was so fun to work with on the L Word.
She's like, he was just so funny.
So professional.
And she was like, the guest stars on the L Word were as good as the cast.
Yeah, and then she just lists all the guest stars.
Gloria Steinem.
Yeah, I've seen it, babe.
Yeah.
Remember when Emma Goldman said, if there's no dancing at the revolution, I'm not coming?
L Word stuff that was insane. She was like, Gloria Steinem plays a woman that Bet's dad used to hook up with, which they don't explain that in the actual episode to get deep into L Word stuff.
Oh yeah,
Gloria Steinem is just chilling there with the cast.
Is Gloria Steinem. They never say that she like hooked up with Ozzie Davis's character.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I was also thinking maybe like her like one of her like more like out there girlfriend, Tamara Dobson.
Tamara Dobson.
Yeah.
Oh, who's kind of the more her glamorous international and like all of like Ebony and Jed are always trying to say that they're rivals, and she's like, we were not rivals.
We were not. They could print whatever they want.
We shared makeup and clothes and lived down the hall from each other in West Hollywood.
Right. So like, ooh, 70s West Hollywood.
I would love to be Tamara Dobson.
I think you're more Tamara Dobson, and I guess. Yeah, my Pam Grier and like all the magazines are always trying to say we're such rivals.
Right, and we lived on the wait. I want to live in West Hollywood in the same building
across the hall.
That's so fun.
And we're tanning.
Yes.
Or my Altovis Davis, wife of Sammy Davis Jr., who let women flirt and fuck with her husband, and that was the deal they had. Or my Elizabeth Taylor, who like basically she like is like Sammy Davis trying to fuck, and Elizabeth Taylor's like, here's what we do, darling. You like hide in my Jag, and I'll drive off, and we'll like, distract Sammy Davis.
Yeah, you're super supportive of women, and I think that you would totally hide someone in your trunk. Okay, I would give this book like a 4 out of 5 go-go boots.
Yeah, 4 battered GMC trucks out of 5 battered GMC trucks, because she never really gets a nice car because she's like, I don't need that.
Yeah,
she's a Western girl.
I think she's a really cool chick, and this is a very classic celebrity memoir.
Yeah.
It's almost so like true to form. It's like everything happens in it in like the most normal way.
You get your childhood, you get your abuse, you get the relationships, you get the 70s, you get the Hollywood.
I know I might be a little bit bored by that. The reason I'm giving it 4 is I think her personality really comes through, and that sweetness and intelligence and vulnerability and strength is all in there. Just even in the way that she like in her asides and the way she like notices other people. You don't
get the vulnerability a lot. Like you might get like with the Demi or some of the big classics where people like are being vulnerable, but I feel like they still have this like wall up and are kind of being
that's-
fake.
yeah,
and I feel like she has something that's more raw.
I mean, the Demi Moore is actually more, I think, the Jenny Schechter model of modern memoir that's so confessional and it's like so dramatic and just like, I was lying on the floor in a pool of my own sweat, blood, and tears.
High out of
and
my
piss.
mind.
You know, I thought I was going to die. You know what I mean? Like that is a little bit more that. She's a little bit more reserved, but in that reservation, you feel the authenticity.
You get a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well, well, well. Jennifer Schechter. We read another book. What are we reading next week, Jenny?
We're going to be reading a really amazing picture book.
Yes.
By none other than Billie Eilish. And I
Eilish.
think it's called just
Billie.
Bye. No, it's called Bye.
Oh,
Like
bye.
B-Y.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.
By Billie Eilish.
Bye, Billie.
And we'll be joined by the gentle folk from Throwing Fits podcast.
2 straight guys.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? It's going to be a laugh riot.
We're going to get into fashion because you
Yeah.
know we're big clothing
We
heads
love
over here.
clothes.
Okay, well...
And stay tuned for...
the VIP lounge, we're going to be talking with none other than John Wilson. You know him.
From his HBO show, How To. Yes, we have a straight guy with an HBO show about to walk in here.
Yeah,
Oh
okay.
my God.
Okay, let me sop up the chair.
Yeah, sorry. Whisper Room is soaked right now.
Thanks so much for another amazing app, guys.
Yeah, best.
Best.
Celebrity Book Club is presented by this funky club, Prologue Projects. The show is produced by Pimp Benjamin Frisch, with editorial support from Leon Nafog, Andrew Parsons, who's a pusherman, and Madeline Cappan, who's a hooker who can't get unhooked. Our production manager is Persia Verlin, that sexy motherfucker. Original theme song by Stephen Phillips Horse. I used to see him spin at Studio 54 when I would go clubbing with Donna Summer, Bobby Womack, and the rest of the Jackson 5. Artwork by Teddy Blanks at Chips NY. He makes some real groovy stuff. Follow us on Twitter at CBC The Pod, baby. Subscribe. Sorry, that acid's kicking in. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Leave us a review and don't forget to tell your friends, lovers, pimps about us.